welcome to the Improv Summit. I'm your host, as always, Spencer. And with me today, I have a very special guest. Today, I have Ryan. Ryan, how's it going?
Hi, hello.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Oh
Or
man,
this morning?
it's yeah this morning. Great, having my coffee.
Monsters
And
Inc. Mug.
yeah, love Monsters Inc. Love Mike Wazowski. Yeah, I love Sully. Yeah, yeah, man, I love Monsters Inc. It's great.
Good.
I love Monsters University. That's like my favorite Pixar movie. Love
See,
Monsters University so much.
I really enjoyed it a lot, and people are like, it's not good. It's not the same as the first one. I'm like, well, no movie is the same as its original movie. That's just how movies
So
work.
many people
They're never the
can
same.
learn so much from that movie. That movie and maybe it's just like a Pixar twist, but like accepting who you are, I think is so important. And not trying to like I really hate when like a prop plane wants to become a fighter plane, then he becomes a fighter plane. Like, no, dude, you're a prop plane. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So love it.
And it's so fascinating you say that because one of my, if not my favorite Pixar movie is A Bug's Life. And everyone
Yeah,
forgets that it exists, but it's so good. And it might also be because like I grew up right when like I was able to see like Bugs Life in theaters and like Toy Story and Toy Story 2, like those kind of were growing up as I was literally able to see a movie in theaters as a kid. But there's something about A Bug's Life. I remember I'd watch it like when I was in after school in elementary school, they'd put that on a lot, the VHS tapes, because that's where I was at back in the day. But I think Monsters University is very underrated as a Pixar movie. I think A Bug's Life is very underrated, and so I think that it's great to hear someone that really enjoys Monsters University because it is a great movie. And I think people just forget either they forget that it exists or they're like, but it's not as good as Monsters Inc. Well, I mean, it might not be, but also it's a different movie, but also
it's a different movie. Yeah.
it's that's it's not made to be. I also love The Incredibles 2 more than the first one, and everyone thinks
Oh, that's a hot
I,
take. It's a
I
hot
know.
take.
I know. I think it's because the second one was much more my humor than the first one. Because the
Sure.
second one was
Yeah.
like the punnier, cheesier, goofier one, and that tends to. I saw that twice in theater, and the first one
Yeah.
I watched as a kid, and I did not like it when I saw it as a kid, and then I watched it again recently and realized that there's a lot of like adult oriented humor, like it's more like stuff that went over my head when I was younger, but
Sure.
it doesn't it has like more action, but the comedy is not. I don't think it's like as funny as the second one, and so I think that it's like the whole like Deadpool versus Deadpool 2. I very much enjoy Deadpool 2 way more than the first one. Everyone likes the first one better. I know
That's
it's,
pretty. Yeah,
but
dude,
that's
we we
that's just
we we can talk Pixar movies all day. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, right.
that's probably that's like a different show. That's definitely a
Yeah,
different
part
show.
two, part two coming up.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's also interesting because we're going to talk about improv, but I think,
mhm,
it's interesting because it's like Monsters Inc. Like, what if there was a third movie? And like, I was like, okay, let's improvise that movie right now, right? Like, that would be something interesting that you can take the idea of something that exists and improvise something new out of it, something fresh. But
sure.
we can get to that. We can get to that. Let's talk about you and your improv background. It's a loaded question, but the question is, what is your improv background? Feel free to share as much or as little as you'd like.
Oh man, my I'd say my background's very limited, mostly because I've only gone to one school, um, and that's just because I found the school that I like. But yeah, I mean, like I've taken oh gee, like I think I counted one time, and this is not a testament to my ability or what I'm able to do because there are a plethora of people more talented than me. Um, but I've taken like 28 classes at UCB, like total, like character classes and writing classes and improv classes, and all of those were free because I was an intern. So, but I just like there was one point in my life where I just consumed as much improv as I possibly could.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like hours and money and just like yeah, I just there's a lot on my resume. I don't think that translates to my talent, but there's a lot. I've done so much improv. Yeah. So
Mm. It's interesting that you say that because I have this thing too where I feel like I'm like on paper I look like I'm the greatest improviser ever, but then like when I do it I'm like, am I this great? And I think it comes down to one thing that I've noticed is like the idea of understanding improv. I've learned I understand improv and I get better as an improviser every single time I have what I've been calling an aha moment on this show,
Yeah,
where it's like it's like, oh, physicality is a good choice, like using that, or as opposed to being like, I don't understand everything of improv, so I'm not an improv. And it's helped me
sure.
rework my mindset to be like, oh, I just had this aha moment. I'm now a better improviser. Oh, I see this. I'm now a better improviser. And so I try to say, because it's always like I always feel like I'm playing with like expert improvisers, and so I always am like, oh, you've been doing this so much longer, and I think it's because like I'm like, oh, I've been doing this maybe on and off for like 6 years, but these people have been doing it for 20, 25. So maybe in 20 years I will be just as good as they are. But for now, I'm at my level, and that's fine. But the UCB thing, I think what I find interesting about UCB and other places is the opportunity to do work study. There's also scholarship opportunities.
Mhm.
I did work study at Second City. I did work study at IO. I did kind of sort of work study at some other places, and I did work study at UCB. I also got UCB scholarships. So I was trying to track my classes as you were talking about how many classes you've taken. I realized I've only taken 9 UCB classes, but I was like, how have I taken 9 UCB classes? Because there's just so many. But I took the main core, 101 through 401. I did musical 101 through 301, and then I did character 1 and 2. So that's nine. Yeah, nine
Mhm.
classes. So those are basically the programs of all three because they don't have any higher levels other than academy or advanced. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's one of the biggest things with this show is having different experience levels and different styles of learners and teachers and improvisers because it allows us to realize that there's so much to improv and everyone learns and works and improvises in their own way. And so I think it's really fun to get different levels and see now there's my shadow that's like now it's like bugging me. We
Yeah,
have a light here.
I
There's a
see.
light here, everyone. There's a light here. Anyway, that being said, what drew you to improv? Like why were you like I want to do improv? And also from there, why did you keep doing it? Like what kept you in?
Man, I look, I'm sure like anyone my age, I'm almost 36. But just like my first improv exposure to improv was like, whose line is it anyway? On ABC, hosted by Drew Carey. So like that was like that was the first time I was like, oh, like people can just like make things up and have fun, and people want to watch that. And then when you like, I'm from Arkansas. There's not an improv scene in Arkansas. They have like I have friends that do improv in Arkansas, but it's nothing like you would see out here. I think that's not to say it's not fun or anything. It's just different. And just moving out here and being super poor and sleeping on my friend's couch, they would go to this place called UCB on Franklin, and at this time, this is like 8 years ago, 9 years ago maybe. The the improv jam, I want to say it was on Monday nights. It might have been on Monday nights at like 10 p.m. and it was free and you could just show up. And I didn't know when I first went, but it was really meant for students. And like students can go up on stage. And like the first couple of times I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like you just hang out and just do stuff on stage and hang out with people. And then like I would try and go on stage, still not realizing it was really meant for students. And I was like, well, how do these people know what they're doing? And people would just improv around me on stage. I got in one scene and I like without any experience to what they were doing, I kind of got into the groove of something. And looking back, it was just the other person taking care of me. I guarantee you, any great improv scene you remember, it's because the other person took care of you. It's very little to what you did. You probably did like the most minimal thing, and that person was just carrying you through the entire scene. But in your head, you're like, "Oh, I did the greatest scene of all time."
Hmm.
And then likewise, hopefully, you've done that for other people. For like they've like talked about a scene they've done, but really they were on stage with you, and you took care of them, and you made their night. But they'll never know. They'll have no idea. Which I think is like the crux of improv, in my opinion. But yeah, so then I was like, oh, what is this place? And like, I want to take classes. Like people take classes here. You can do all that. And like, so yeah, I started taking improv classes, and I just got sucked in. It's also, I will say, like, admittedly, it's like the laziest art form. It's by like, I'm horrible with deadlines and assignments, and you can just go about it at your own pace. You don't turn anything in. You really show up. And people say, showing what is that phrase, oh man, like
Wait.
90% of the work is showing up, or whatever it is. You
Oh,
literally
oh,
show up.
oh, of the work is showing up, not some percent of the work is showing up, or
Yeah,
what? There's
like
also, yeah, I
that's
mean,
all
there's so many.
that's all improv is. It's showing up. And then yeah, so it's why, oh, man, oh my god, really like gonna like a like philosophical rabbit hole. But yeah, so just long story short, UCB, pre-improv jam, getting sucked into classes, making friends, like non-work friends. My first non-work friends were people I met in 101 class and and like 201, 301, until I'm here. So
Yeah,
there,
that's great.
I hope that kind of in a nutshell answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. I think what's interesting also is the idea of showing up. And I think it's interesting because, I think a lot of people are like, improvising is not that hard, you just show up and you do it. Right? And I think there's a difference between that idea of showing up and your idea of showing up, where I think it's like showing up is like, it's great, like I'm showing up, I'm here, I'm present. But I don't have to think about what I did last week or what I need to be doing because I'm ready to present whatever I have with me this week from my proverbial tool belt, right? And so I think that's a fascinating concept because I'd never thought of it as like I just have to show up. Because when I first was doing improv, I was like, I hope I can impress people. Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do this week. Oh, like I hope I can do better than I did last week. And it really is a lot about showing up without any preconceived ideas, without any previous homework, if I put that in quotes. Like it's the idea of showing up and like not worrying about lines, not worrying about presenting something that you worked on last week because you're going to be learning stuff in class, but you're going to take the ideas and the concepts that you've learned in the past and bring them when you show up. But it's not like a physical, like I don't have to, hand in the sheet of paper, or I don't have to
Yeah.
make sure that I'm prepared with the blocking because I'm making it up as I go. And so I think
Like
I
it's
think the way that you described it is fascinating because
yeah.
it is like this idea of showing up, but it's showing up with an intent to work. And I think that that's what's really fascinating in the way you put it. And again, this is the whole philosophical rabbit hole where I could get real deep into this. But I also want to point out, you said you're from Arkansas, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Have you ever heard Arkansas? You're from Arkansas?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're from
I say that all the
you're
time.
you're from Arkansas, but not my Kansas or your Kansas. You're from
Yeah,
Arkansas.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. I
I
have
have to
heard that.
get a pun in there
It's,
somewhere.
please, yeah, please, just like milk it, squeeze all those puns out. Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Florida. There's not really any puns, but there's a lot of jokes.
Did you know that Flow Rider is Florida?
Yeah, Flo Rida. Yeah.
Flow. I didn't know that till maybe 5 years ago.
Also, T-Pain is from Florida, and the reason his name is T-Pain is because he's from Tallahassee, which is where I grew up. So
Oh my
T-Pain,
god.
Tallahassee is the T.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't. Oh my,
Yeah.
went over my head.
And then you've got Florida Georgia Line, the country band Florida Georgia Line,
Sure.
because they are based out of the literal border of Florida and Georgia, so they're called Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah.
So like it's like it's so interesting how these obvious musician names are like inherently not obvious at all, which I think also in a way is something how improv is so interesting because I feel like a lot of times in improv I want to be like I need to think of something so clever that it's like people I have to really think about it. When really it's um like you're in a classroom and I have to name my teacher instead of being like Mrs. Pencil eraser, like I could just be like Mr. Teacher, Michael, yes, my name is Michael Teacher. Like, right, like it's so funny if we established like exactly what it is. Like instead of
Sure.
trying to like work around it because like, we want to come up with a funny joke or be really clever. The audience is with us. And so if we are just like, hi, I'm the oldest student in this class by 10 years. I am a senior and everyone else is in elementary school. I just wanted to say that I haven't figured out my colors yet, right? Like just labeling it, which is what they want us to do in improv. Sometimes it feels like I don't want to tell you exactly what it is. But if we say exactly what it is, it makes the scene so much easier for both the audience and the improv. So I think there's
Oh yeah,
something
sure,
with
100%.
those names of those musicians where it's like this is what it is because it's literally what it is.
Yeah, yeah, it's like just like any art form. The sooner people are on board, the more fun everyone's going to have. 100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's also, as long as if people know what's going on, the sooner they know what's going on, the sooner they can yes and heighten the listening elements in order to continue the scene and support the initiation that happened or whatever the line was before it. So I think that that's great.
Yeah.
Moving into that, I'm gonna segue, which I've been doing this now. My segue at the bottom of the
Oh
brain.
yeah, sure.
Um,
Have you ever ridden one of those?
no, I do not want
I have
to.
not. I'd like to try it. I've never. Are they still around? Can you buy those?
I'm
Like
sure
that
you
was going to be
can.
the future. That was
There was
going to
like
be
a
the thing.
Segway shop. I think there's like a Segway shop in like Santa Monica or something like where you can like it's like
Ah,
literally just a Segway. I don't know if they have them anymore, but they do have a Segway tours. I think where you get on a Segway and like tour the city.
I'd like to do that. I
We
100% would
called
love to
it
do that.
on another episode. We called it my Paul Blart move.
Oh yeah.
You know, kind of diminished the idea of the Segway by saying it's Paul Blart move, but that movie's very interesting. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to segue into my next question, which is the idea of enjoying improv, right? So I feel like one of the biggest things about being good at improv is if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, it's harder to it's harder to appreciate it and harder to really like dive into. So one thing that I always like to know from people is like if you have any favorite styles of improv, any favorite games of improv that you play, any favorite warm-ups, any favorite scenes that you remember, just anything. And favorite is such a hard word because it's like I'm asking you to like pick the one thing, but really just a favorite or just one of those that you enjoy. It can be any, all of those, whatever you want to pick and choose from that question.
Oh, man. Like favorite games or let's see.
Yeah, games,
Um,
performances, shows, styles, whatever it is.
yeah, man. I just like like it might be boring. I'm not a fan of like gimmicky improv. And that sounds so stupid when I say it out loud. But like I feel like there's so many improv shows. Like all improv shows are kind of the same, just how they get their initiations are different for some reason. When like I think just the personalities of people on stage make it a different show. But like kind of like going back to like having fun with it. Um, yeah, like it's like as long as you're with your friends, I don't like whatever my friends want to do is what I like want to do. If they're having fun, then I'm having fun. So uh yeah, just I don't know, maybe it's like it's just too simple of like an answer, but like whatever my friends are doing, whatever games my friends want to play. Like I'm in a job right now where I work at Stranger Things live downtown, and for warm ups, it's a bunch of actors, and we're doing improv games. I don't think a lot of them are improvisers necessarily, but they all know the games. They're all having fun. But the game Sound and Movement is so fun. It's stupid. Like we're just passing around a Sound and Movement and just seeing people have fun doing that. 100% is worth it. So yeah, long answer short, whatever my partners are into is what I'm a very giving partner. Whatever they're into is what I'm into, basically.
I love that, and I think there's this concept of improv, and I've said this before, thinking of improv as a team sport, right? I think that's what really fascinates me, and now I'm just like fascinated by everything today because I've said fascinated I think like 6 times already. But what fascinates me is this idea of it being a team sport, right?
Oh,
Because yeah, of course I want to shine like as an improviser. I want to be funny, I want to be the star of the show. But I also have like, if I'm on a team like 6 or 7 other people or more or less, I mean, there can be duo, whatever it is. And I think what's interesting and fascinating is the idea of discovering a balance. I guess I would say, I wouldn't say having to, I would say getting to discover a balance in the idea of like, when can I shine and when do I let everyone else shine? And it's tricky because you're improvising. So you can't think of like, okay, this next scene I'm going to get out and I'm going to shine versus like, okay, the next scene after that, I'm going to let this person shine or this person shine. It doesn't work that way. But I think that's where this like team sport mentality comes in, where it's like, you go through the scene like, okay, 10 minutes. I've been in every scene. I should let someone else like jump in. And I expect that my teammates are going to be like, Spencer, you got to get in a scene. You haven't done anything. Like, go jump in and be in a scene or like whatever, right? And I think that that's what's so fascinating. Like when you're talking about like the Stranger Things, like just jumping in and doing whatever, whatever everyone else wants to do. Because there are games, I will tell you, there are a couple of games that I just cannot stand. I
yeah.
like absolutely cannot stand them. A couple are more of like accessibility access for me, which is why I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't like playing this. But if people want to play it, I just know I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like I'll just have to adapt, and that's fine. I can figure out how to adapt, play it, so I can physically see what's going on. But it is like I would much rather play a game that my whole team is enjoying and like seeing that we're enjoying it and connecting than me being like, I don't want to play that game because I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because also at the end of the day, if I'm doing a long form show and it's a warm up, it's like the warm up doesn't have to. I don't have to be like, I only want to do warm ups that I enjoy, right? Like Sound and Motion's a great example, which it seems like it's like the silliest game, but I don't have to think at all. It's literally me being watching someone and like a sound happens and a motion and I just match it. Like that's it. There's nothing else to it. And so I almost prefer those with warm-ups because I'm still saving all of my energy for the show because I'm not having to
Mhm.
think hard like doing like I love the game Lost in the Woods, which I can explain, but it'll take a long time. But Lost in the
Okay.
Woods essentially is there's a players. I learned this from comedy sports, which is why I said players. There's players, and they leave. They actually leave the theater, and the audience gives suggestions of like a location, like it's like a beach, and then they come up with words that you might say at a beach, like sunscreen or sand or ocean, whatever it is, and the ref writes them all down, and then they bring back the players, and those words are like no words, like you can't say those words. So like if someone goes, "Oh, what a beautiful day here at the beach. I think I'll put on some sunscreen." If they say the word sunscreen out loud, the audience will go die, and then they have to justify their death and die on stage. And so that
Oh,
game
wow.
requires a lot of thinking because one, and there's also a hallelujah word. So there would be a word that fits within that world that may not be an easy word to say or remember or think about, which if that word is said, the game ends, no matter how many people have died or how long the game's been going on. But me explaining it is making my brain think a lot. And so that would be a game that I would love to play like in a show. But as a game for a warm up, it's almost like too thinking heavy that my brain starts to get exhausted or drained before I even start to perform. So going back into it, that Sound and Motion really is a great example. Or like like you come to me and it's like saying my name with an action, like I'm Super Spencer, like whatever. It's like
Yeah.
those are super great because it doesn't require me to think like at all, but it allows me to bring up my energy. It allows me to connect with my team, and it also allows me to build that energy. I said energy already, but build the desire to play, and so I can really push the energy out in the scenes as opposed to using up all of my energy in a warm up. So I think that Sound of Motion is a great example of a great warm up game that kind of puts all the pieces together. That was my long-winded
Yeah.
answer to
Yeah.
that one sentence that I just figured out now.
Great.
This is this is
Awesome.
why
Yeah.
this is why these episodes are like over an hour because it's just me trying to explain my thing and then I finally end up with the sentence and then I'm like, you know what? I figured it out.
Yeah. Great.
People can
Good.
hear my
Love it.
process
Love
as they go.
it.
Anyway, that being said, there's so much about improv, and I think one of the biggest like misconceptions about improv is that it's only for performers, and like I don't want to like be an actor. I don't want to be a performer. I just don't want to like do anything with entertainment. I don't think improv is right for me. I know firsthand that there are a lot of elements of improv that you learn in classes or by watching performances or being in performances that you can adapt to your everyday life. Because in general, every day we improvise our conversations, right? Like you don't know what I'm going to ask today. I don't know how you're going to respond. Like even in this conversation now, we're improvising as human beings having a conversation. But we don't think about that as improv because we're having a conversation. But what is a conversation but improv? Because we don't know what each other's going to say. But that being said, what are some elements of improv that you've noticed that you've carried over to your like non-performance, non-improv life that you're able to use in a daily setting?
Oh man. Geez. Just like I would say problem solving. Uh like any like I don't know how to like explain this. Like if someone like comes at me hard with a bunch of like negative energy, it's mostly just like slowing things. And I was like, oh wait, what is the problem exactly? What is the issue? And like let's like work through it. So yeah, I would say just like listening and problem solving,
Mm.
100%. Uh, Mostly because like if I'm on stage with somebody, I'm not going to argue with you on stage. I'm 100%. I'm just
Sure.
not going to do it. I've had people in class or like in a show, they like want to cause a problem or like I think well this kind of goes into something like people think like not necessarily conflict like is interesting, and I don't think it is. I don't think like fighting on stage is interesting, or and this is coming from someone who used to yell a lot on stage, like yelling at people is necessarily interesting. I think freaking out is fun, but like um where was I going with that? I don't know where I was going.
That's how I feel all the time on these shows. If
Yeah,
you watch them, like
yeah,
I'm like, anyways, my point is not relevant.
yeah. It's just no, yeah, tools in life.
Yeah, and I think
Oh,
going
so,
off
so
of
just like being patient. Oh, it's just like in like auditions. I had an audition the other day where I was like a news reporter on an airfield, and just like the improv training of like being aware of where you are, like mentally, like setting the scene, and just like, oh, I'm on an airfield. It's probably loud, so I'm going to talk at a louder volume as if I'm yelling over airplanes behind me. And I ended up booking the commercial, I think, because of that. So just like
Congrats.
yeah, thanks. So just like spatial awareness, being playful with people, being supportive of people. I think people use improv as like this therapy thing, which I don't think your teammates want to go help you through that, man. Like go to therapy. But yeah, I think just like how to talk to people and how to treat people in real life. Uh, like even going to the bank, I've probably done more improv scenes of going to the bank than I've actually gone to the bank. But like, um, yeah,
I
just
spent more
like
money
going
in
to the
improv
bank.
scenes than I've ever spent on anything.
Yeah, but I guarantee you that like anytime I've gone to the bank in real life, it's been a pleasurable experience. Like,
Yeah, and I think
um,
something that
yeah,
made me think of is I always feel like I'm awkward in conversation. Like I just I'm like I don't know like how to approach people, how to talk to people. I'm very much an extroverted introvert. People don't think that, but I'm very much like an ambivert where like talking to people, I love doing it, but it expels so much energy that I need to recharge by like being by myself.
sure.
Um, but I also know like if I go to like a party or a big like event, I will not go up and talk to people. Like unless it's someone I already know. Like if I saw you, I would be like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" But like if it's like someone from high school that I haven't seen in like 10 years, I probably wouldn't even approach them. But I have this thing where like I'll just like stand on a corner and just like wait for someone to come and talk to me. If they come up and
Mhm.
talk to me, I will go off. Like I will keep like not go off like mad. Like I will like keep talking and talking and talking, like having a conversation because it's like I want to have the conversation. I just don't want to start the conversation. And so I think that this is something that improv has helped me with. Improv has helped me with the idea of approaching people in a way that feels right for me, but also feels like I am able to hold a conversation without being like, yeah, like I feel like I've gotten better at small talk, even though small talk is not my favorite. I'd rather just get to the point.
Sure.
But
Sure.
but I feel like I've gotten much better at small talk because in improv you build these skills where um, you're working with different people, and sometimes I'll improvise with people for the first time. And in that moment of me improvising, I'm figuring out their style of play. I'm figuring out if they are really like leading the scene or if they want me to lead the scene or if they're more of a physical player or more of a verbal player. Like this is something that I've picked up on in improv, which I see has helped me tremendously in my daily life. I realized I was moving my hand and then I just like moved it and like there was like that little and I like was still there and I was like, what happened? And I moved my hand. It distracted me. Anyway, this
Sure.
happens a
Yeah.
lot too. I'll get very distracted at my own doing. But I think that that's something like you said, like with auditions, like one thing is like especially for performers, I think it's very important to have improv background. I've noticed lately with a lot of self tapes that I've had, is they're like do one take as written and then do one take where you're improvising. And so those
Yeah.
self tapes, I get improvisers to help me. I'm like, hey, can you help me do this? This scene we're literally having to improvise.
Yeah.
And it feels great because I know that I can say, hey, let's improvise a scene. Here's the scenario. And when I get an improviser, I know that I don't have to explain like exactly like what improv means. Like I can just be like, so here's the scene, let's do a scene. Okay, yeah, sure, great, right? And I've also noticed the stuff that I have booked this year, I think, and by this year I mean like 2020 to 2021. Most everything that I booked has either had an improv component or was something that I booked because they said like the improvised take or like the more improv take they really thought was funny and they enjoyed it, and that's why they cast me. I mean, they also said I was
Sure.
like, good at the role or whatever. But I think there's something to improv because it's not even just like improv as like there's like improv as a hobby, improv as a profession, and then improv as a something else. I just made this up now, so I'm making it up, so I don't know. Improv. But what I think is beautiful about improv is that I can do as little or as much of it as I want, and I can get the skills I want by doing it as little or as much as I want. And I think specifically for actors, it's so important to be able to think on the fly. Because if someone like I've been in situations where I've been a director and I'm like, can you do that again? Just a different way. I was like, feel free to improvise, right? I don't know what I'm looking for, but if you give me the exact same version of the first take, it doesn't let me see your range or your ability to take direction. But if I go, just do it a different way, and you just kind of like are loose and improv with it, like that's a different take. And that's like great.
Well, yeah. So I've had that where people are like, okay, hey, that was a really good first take. Let's do something different with the second take, and then I think it's perfectly fine. It's like, well, what else are you looking for? Like, what do you want to see? And that like narrows it down. But then that's like at the end, that's like even asking that question is just improv training.
Yeah,
Like
and it's
what
also
exactly are you talking about?
yeah, and it's also tricky because I've been in the situation as like a director, well, not like as a director, but I mean, yeah, as a director too, where people are like, well, is that more of what you're going for? And my answer is usually, sure. I don't know. I mean, when I see it, I'll know. And I think that it's like I can give a general idea of what I want the character to be or the tone, but like the read itself, it's hard for me to say like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm going for. One, because sometimes I don't know what I'm going for, but two, if I say, oh yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for, and then you don't book it, you're gonna wonder why, if you were exactly what I was looking for, why you didn't get it? And so
Yeah.
I think it's tricky on that, but I do agree that like the improv element is so important to everyday life, but also if you're in entertainment, it's so important. Like as a director, like when I've directed, I'm like having improv is going to help me be able to give more information to my actors of
Sure.
like like what do you want, or like does this take work? It's like oh ooh, let's do a take like where you have that same kind of energy, but this time it's almost like there's a frog that's jumping around your house and you're trying to like gently place it outside while you're doing the scene, right? And an improviser's brain goes, "Oh, I got so many things I can do with this." Versus someone who's never taken improv, who's like literally like, "Okay, there's a frog in my house," and they're thinking so much on the actual like direction than on just like playing with it, right? And so I think that that's something that's I don't know why I thought of that example, but that's what
No,
I got.
because you want a frog. You love frogs. You want frogs in your house. I love frogs. Sure, I would be thrilled if I found a frog in my house. 100%.
Yeah, and see that's something that you think about. So like as an improviser, and you're like, I'd be thrilled to have a frog. Most people will be like, I gotta get this frog out. So it's like this like frantic energy. But like, I remember auditioning for something and I got it as an improv team and they had us do a scene where like my character was turning into a werewolf, right?
Yeah,
And
sure.
the first thing I thought of was the idea of like, oh, I should be so like mad that I'm getting turned into a werewolf. And I was like, but that's what everyone does. So he goes, I gotta tell you something. Like, don't get mad. You're gonna be a werewolf. And I literally went, are you serious? He's like, yeah. I said, oh, sick, sweet, dope. And like they started busting out laughing because they weren't expecting me to take the character in that direction. And I
Yeah,
think that that's what helped. And like with the frog thing that you just mentioned, I think it's great that you were like, I would love a frog in my house. Like I didn't even think of that. And that's what I love about improv is that you can take it literally anywhere because it's not written yet. You're writing it as you go. And so you can make a
yeah,
choice, make it like the obvious choice, or you can make it a different choice. And both choices are correct. And that's what I love about improv.
sure. Yeah. Well, there's always a point where like I think it's like the crux of any scene, of like any narrative scene, because it adds stakes, is like, is this the first time this has happened, or does this happen a lot? Is this the first time you've gone to a party with a bunch of people and your buddy decides he has to turn into a werewolf? Like, you're like, dude, come on. Like, why didn't you do this earlier? Or why do we even go out tonight if you knew you were gonna be a werewolf tonight? Or is it the first time? Like, oh, wait, what? Wait, serious? What? Like, what the fuck? What?
Mhm.
You know? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's this could be a whole other conversation on its own too. Now that I'm
Oh yeah.
thinking about it, it could
Like,
be.
are there always frogs in your place? Is this a problem you have to solve? Like, you're always finding a
No.
frog. Is it like a
So,
cockroach problem? Like, so, or is it like,
oh,
wait, where
see,
the fuck did this frog come from? Like, what the fuck is this frog doing here?
the reason it sparked in my mind is because I was watching TikTok, like because I watch TikTok. I have TikTok. I'm trying to like
Oh, who
figure
doesn't,
out
man? Oh my god.
and like dive in. I have like 200 followers, and I'm still trying to get more. And it feels like it shot up and then it slowed down because I had like a video that got quite a few views, and then I don't know how I hit it the algorithm. But I was scrolling through the for you page, and it said like, oh, you got to think of three animals in 15 seconds. Like it's like a quick challenge, and I was like, okay. They're like, don't think too hard, just pick something. And I went, okay. And it was like, what animal? What's your favorite animal or whatever? And I was like, well, elephant, of course. And then it was like
Of
something else.
course.
It was like, think of another animal. If that animal didn't exist, what would be another animal that would exist? And I was just like, a frog. And then it was like, if there's another animal that if that animal didn't exist, what other animal? And I was like, I don't know, a bat. And then they were like, this is what it means. The first animal is what you want people to see you as. The second animal is what people see you as. And I was like, so people see me as a frog? And then the third one is what I
Wow.
really am. And I was like, I'm really a bat. And so I thought it was very interesting because I was like, huh, interesting. But so that's why I thought of the frog thing was because it was like people see me as a frog according to this TikTok. I was like, all right, whatever that means. I guess because I'm so riveting.
Whoa. Okay. Oh
Uh,
no. Oh no.
hold on, I need a second after that pun. That was rough.
Yeah. That was a dirty pun. That was dirty. Mm.
But it was improvised.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
improv
No.
is
Really. Yeah.
improv is great. Uh, why don't we take a second real quick and ask you if you have any like plugs or pitches, anything you want to share, shout out, anything?
Man, no. I work
Social
downtown at
media
Stranger
handles.
Things.
Yeah,
Social
Stranger
media
Things.
handle. I mean, yeah, come if you can get a ticket. I think you can get a ticket. It's expensive, but yeah,
Yeah.
come see it if you want to see it. Like, if you're a fan of Stranger Things, come see it. If you don't like Stranger Things, don't come see it.
Or have
Um,
someone you know buy you a ticket that loves Stranger Things
sure,
and then go with them.
sure. I get to play. I am the high school mascot of Hawkins, whatever the high school is. I haven't seen the show. Um,
I have seen, I think, the
which
first
you're
season.
like, oh wait, you're in a Stranger Things show. You haven't seen the show? Like, no, because I just improvise my my character, and I have fun with my character. And I don't think my character is even in the show. Like Tony, like not Tony the Tiger, Terry the Tiger, who I play. I don't think he's
I'm
even
sure you're
canon.
great.
Yeah. Oh God, fuck you. Jesus Christ. Um, but no, it's fun. It's exhausting every night. Like I'm in a high school mascot suit and I'm running around. It's so funny. And I talk to people about this at work, how much people want to have fun and how easy it is sometimes to have fun with people. Like people are in their cars, and from their point of view, it's this dude in this like really dinky high school tiger outfit with a giant head and like a poker face grin, like a shit-eating grin on his face. And just to like have fun, I just like point at people. I'm probably making the faces in the helmet that I'm trying to exude. I'm just like pointing at people, clawing at people, and people just want to have fun and they have like the best time. They just giggle, they scream. But yeah, it's finding new ways to like play with people. And there's like I don't have much clowning experience, but it feels like it's like a clowning thing where like I can't talk. I just use my movements to get across what I want, and people get it. People understand it. It's a more satisfying job than I ever thought I would have, because it exercises a lot of muscles that I wasn't using because of COVID, and it helped me find new muscles I didn't know that I needed to use 100%. So, but yeah, the plugs. Okay, yeah, so that Stranger Things, I'm on Instagram. I don't think I use it all that much, mostly
I don't know.
because
You like my post every now and then. I see it.
oh yeah, no, I scroll. I blindly like everything I see. 100%. I like so many ads by accident. I'm on this animal kick. I love watching animals right now on Instagram. I love watching animals be friends. I saw this panther and this dog playing in the snow. I love like little comic strips on Instagram. There's so many fun things on Instagram. Like if you stop taking pictures of yourself for 5 seconds, there's a lot of good content on Instagram, and that's what I found. I was like, I don't even want to take pictures of myself and post them anymore.
You know what's so
I just want to
funny?
like, hey, yeah,
Do you say that? Like I will be like, I have no content to post today. I don't know what to post. And I'm like, I never think about taking a picture of myself because I just don't need to.
yeah,
I'm like, I'd
yeah.
rather just
Well, it's
not
so
post.
odd
I'm
what people
sure.
like on Instagram. Like I might post a picture. I was like, oh, this is a beautiful sunset, and I think it's a great set. People should see this, and no one gives a fuck. But if you post a picture of yourself doing something like stupid, like people like it's like 100 likes. It's so odd and weird what people like on Instagram. It's very weird.
It's also an algorithm thing. It goes
Yeah,
back to the people who are running it, what they think is interesting, which
yeah,
also says
dude.
something.
It's a dumpster fire. It's 100% a dumpster fire. I like deleted Facebook off my phone so many times. It's just a dumpster fire. Yeah, man. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say Facebook is like the new address book. Like it feels like if you want to take a break from Facebook, you can't because everything happens on Facebook. Like
Keep
it's
Messenger, delete Facebook, but keep your Messenger. That's what I learned 100%.
mm,
So yeah,
thing.
here we
And
go.
it's like I found like work off of Facebook, like in the group. So I'm like, I can't. That's how I'm finding work, and
Sure.
I need it. Blah, blah. But yeah, so
Sure,
that's
100%.
what.
I follow. Like, I get free tickets from people posting. So like, it's Facebook is this crazy place where it's like a thrift store of information. You never know what you're gonna find. You didn't know what you needed to hear until you heard it. And it's really cheap and used, and probably broken information. So
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
Facebook, copyright that. put that on a shirt. Facebook is the thrift store of information. So there we go.
I love that. Yeah, so Ryan, this has all been super great. I have one final question for you, which I kind of prepped you
Yeah,
on earlier.
yeah, please. I've been
Reason
thinking about the
why,
whole time. Yeah.
yeah, great. The reason why I've been doing these improv summits is because a lot of times pre-pandemic, but also even still now with improv being accessible from anywhere in the world, any school really with online, people say, "Oh, Spencer, you take a lot of improv. Where should I take improv?" And it's a very hard question for me to answer because I feel like it's not just a cut and dry answer. Like there's so many different nuances to that answer. So if someone came up to you and asked you that question, what would be one piece of advice or one tip that you'd give to that person to help them on their journey of improv?
I mean, I don't want to like belittle someone's like dilemma or whatever, but like I think it's super simple. We're like, if you see a show from a school and you think it's hilarious and you want to do it, go to that school. Um, so like, I don't think like if you take all UCB, I'm not saying, well, you got to broaden your horizons and take a groundlings class. Like, not if you don't think it's funny. Like, don't go there and be that asshole in class who's not on board with what everyone else is doing. Because I guarantee you, they all went there because they saw a groundling show and they thought it was fucking hilarious. Likewise, if you take groundlings and then you go to UCB and you're pissed off at everyone because they look at you like you're always the crazy person in the scene, well, because you are at that school, you're always going to be the crazy person in the scene, no matter what. So yeah, like go see a bunch of shows. Once we're able to 100%. And whatever you think is funny, whatever like makes you happy watching, that's what you should be doing. Now, is there like some weird philosophical thing? I feel like I'm misusing that term philosophical. I'm misusing that 100%. Is there some like weird like mind fuck where like whatever school you see first is the one you're gonna think is funny first? Maybe. Like I don't know how many people think the British office and the American office are equally funny. I don't know. Whichever one you watch first is probably the one you're really gonna like emotionally attach yourself to. Yeah, so yeah, bottom line, when schools and shows open up, I know it's tough right now because of the Zoom stuff. I can't imagine. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to do improv over Zoom because I'm a performer and I like being on stage, and that's what's fun for me. Sitting in front of a camera besides you and improvising with people is not what I find extremely entertaining. Mostly because I wouldn't want to watch that. I wouldn't want to sit in my computer and watch people do improv. I wouldn't want to go to a theater and watch people do improv, like I've spent thousands of hours doing. So again, circle back around to the answer I've said about 5 times now. Go to a school, watch those, find out what the like the weekend. Usually, the best shows, the weekend shows, what are the most popular shows. And whatever their flagship show is, go see that a few times because it's not going to be gold every time. And if that connects with you emotionally, and if that makes you want to get up out of your seat and go on stage and join those people, then that's the school you should go to, 100%.
I love that. And adding to it, I think I would say one big thing that I've noticed with improv is if you're going somewhere, oh no, it's the mindset of it all. Because a lot of times with like actors, people are like, I'm only doing this because my manager said I had to. My agent said I needed to take improv. If you go in already being pissed about improv, you're not going to enjoy it. Go in with like an open mind and like go like in, okay, I have to take improv, but uh someone told me once to, instead of saying have, say get. I get to take improv. I get to
Yeah.
go to work. I get to do this. And ever since I heard that, I was like, oh, this makes everything sound and feel much better. And so then I'm already having a time where I'm enjoying it more because I get to do it. It's as opposed to having to do it. And so I think if I mean, we all have to take improv for acting. Like that's just like a manager agent wants us to take improv. But if you go and saying,
Mhm.
okay, my manager tells me to take improv, but I get to choose where I want to go and I get to choose what
Yeah.
kind of improv I take, that opens up the doors and it makes it so much more enticing than being like, ugh, I have to take improv. So I think going off of what you said, seeing those shows and finding like what resonates with you. I think that's great. And you might go somewhere and you're like, these shows are so funny, but I'm not enjoying this class. And it could be various things. It could be the teacher, it could be the class, it could be the style, it could be the fact that maybe you're taking a 101 and you actually have some improv experience and should be in a more advanced class. Like there are certain reasons, but I've also found going back to 101 basics has been like when I get into like level 4 or 5 of a program, I have to retake like level 1 at a different program because the way they've structured their classes are different. And sometimes I'll take the 101 and I'm like, oh, this is so great because I don't have to like really use all of my tool belt yet. I'm rebuilding my tool belt and I'm picking up on things I didn't pick up on before. And going back to that basic listening and yes and really helps my more advanced improv when I'm retaking those basics because I'm going back and forth. And so I think that the seeing shows is great advice for sure. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today on the Improv Summit. I said that was the last question, but as
Okay,
always, I'm a big liar.
sure.
Um, and we've been talking a lot about improv. The last question I actually have for you is, would you like to do some improv?
Yeah, man, if you can bear it, let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
see
let's
what
do it. Let's
happens.
do it.
Sure.
And I'll give you 2 words, and you can pick which one you want.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Uh, admin or
Admin,
dome?
like administrator, admin,
Like administration or dome?
dome. Gotcha. Cool. Dome.